since I don't use LinkedIn or Facebook, but I have some placeholders in there, which means I have registered an account. For example, in Facebook, under my name, using my image, with a very clear text that this is me, but I'm not actively using this. And the main reason why I've done that is that it makes it harder for someone else to just pick up my image and create a copycat page like what happened to Wesley Bodger right here. So, because if somebody then goes and searches for my name, they would find the copycat page and then my real page, which would very clearly say that I'm here, but I'm really using this. It might make them think twice. And this other account actually might not be the real deal. That's not really going to solve all the problems. It might make it a bit easier. Any other comments from the panel?
Yeah, this starts sounding like a AAA meeting.
No, I think there's a serious point actually. When there is one thing, you're exposing information onto a social network, but there is a serious point here. When criminal activity starts to affect people's lives, as it clearly has done in Graham's case, when you actually have criminals doing something that is illegal, I think it's beholden upon companies like Facebook to at least provide some support to that user for involving the authorities. Now, unfortunately, many other sites, and I wouldn't accuse Facebook of just alone of this. I mean, for instance, I had a problem with my eBay account at one point and had to get the police involved. Now, eBay were very reluctant to actually give me any kind of help or information about that until I'd actually registered a complaint. It became a criminal matter, at which point they were able to subpoena records and so on. So I do think that there's a lot to be said for a way to get these things reported quickly to Facebook or to your social networking site. And actually, if your account has been compromised, I'm sure Facebook are working on ways of being able to get that back very quickly to the rightful owner and remediating some of the damage that's been done and taking a stronger interest when that does happen and when things are compromised. Because no matter how you lock it down, if Facebook wants to become the trusted data vault for our identities, then it does need to start taking it seriously when they get compromised. And one way around that is to stop using very single-factor authentications for everything that we do. If you're putting your data like that online, why are we still using passwords in this day and age when there's many other ways we could have much stronger authentication systems?
Grant, a similar thing happened to me, and I went directly to law enforcement. There's no reason in any case of a threat of violence to ever go to Facebook. Because I'm going to send him after them. I went straight to the FBI. In the United States, any email death threat is an act of terrorism by law. And they went right after the people.
So to put some of this into context, Facebook does take these things very seriously. You may not choose to believe it, but we get millions of things reported to us every day. And we are able to respond to most of these through a combination of a manual response to people in Dublin and in the US, as I mentioned before, and automated means. We definitely escalate certain types of reports that have to do with criminal activity. And we've actually, some of these resulted in the arrests of people, even in the last month, specifically with child porn cases in the UK. We work with law enforcement very closely. When they ask for information, which again happens many times per day, we will not share users' information without a subpoena, but we comply with the courts and the law of the land. And it's best to go to law enforcement, and they will come to us. And if we have the necessary papers, we will comply with the request very quickly and get the person arrested, especially in cases that involve death threats, kidnapping, things like that.
All right. Yep. So Paul has a comment. Can we get a microphone over here?
Are you suggesting that the government should, when they issue a birth certificate, also issue an email address and a Facebook page and a Twitter account, so you could never be ever scammed?
No, actually it's a serious question. I mean, imagine that in 5 years from now, when I land to US and Canada, at the immigration office, they're going to ask me for my Facebook profile to see, you know, are you married, are you living in Romania, do you have own a house, and things like that. Instead of just asking me, they could check out my profile. Why not?
You've also got to think that, you know, in even 5 years' time, and probably all know this from being in the UK, you know, the government is driving everything online. All the services, tax filing, voting even, is going to be driven online. So actually, it kind of makes sense to be issued with a digital ID at birth.
It's clear, Andy, we're doomed.
It's all over.
Did we have a comment from Paul Duffy?
Yeah, Nick, I'm sorry, I'm going to take a pot shot at Facebook again, but this is something I just, and I guess it doesn't just apply to Facebook. But there's a whole, and since we've been talking about birth and digital stuff, I'm going to go to the other end rather sadly and talk about death. And an experience which happened to me recently, I've given a talk on social networking risks in Brisbane, in Queensland, Australia. And afterwards, a guy came up and he said, I want to tell you the experience of what happened when my uncle died recently, and we wanted to remove his identity from Facebook. You know, this is a tough time. They've got to deal with the grief, they've got to deal with the family getting together, they've got to deal with the bureaucracy that the government of Queensland rightly puts in place about people dying. And he said, what we didn't need in the middle of this was the incredible impersonal inflexibility of Facebook in getting his account shut down. And we recognise that, you know, you shouldn't just be able to phone up and kill off somebody else's account. But it just seems that Facebook loves to portray itself as, hey, if we are a country, we'd be the third biggest in the world. But if you're going to make out that you're a country, then you need to have the social services and, you know, the sort of that attitude to humans that make it as easy to deal with your online persona as it is to sign up in the first place. It seems crazy that you can sign up in 30 seconds without so much as, you know, under anybody's name, but it can take you weeks to get yourself removed if you want to get out. It just seems that if you're going to compare yourself to a country, then at least turn yourself into a sort of left-leaning Western democracy.
Paul?
That wasn't meant to be a joke.
Quick question. Paul, have you ever tried to get, say, power for your house shut down for someone who's recently died? Have you gone through that experience? Or had to deal with it in whatever capacity?
Fortunately, I haven't. However, there is generally, if you don't pay your power bill, pretty soon it goes off by itself.
Yeah.
Right, and the same with the telephone. And it just seems weird that, you know, this guy's going through the issue with the register of births, deaths, and marriages in Queensland. Fair enough. But just Facebook seems to have, it's really easy to get in, and it's damn hard to get out.
It's the same thing with any sort of well, when you're dealing with somebody in an official capacity. So when you try and go about getting power shut down from someone who has recently died, well, obviously you have to have death certificate and you need to fax that into them and that sort of thing. However, sometimes that is insufficient. You need to get things notarized and send those 7 or 8 times, and still you're going to get a lot of flack for it, and they're not going to do it immediately 9 times out of 10. And I think the burden of proof is very much on the person who is reporting the death, and that is as it should be, because you don't want to be shutting power down mistakenly.
One thing I can say to Paul Duffy is that we don't disable or delete accounts for dead people. We memorialize them. Their friends or family or anybody they know can contact us with a eulogy or any kind of proof that the person is dead, and we will turn that account into a memorialized state where people can still see and leave messages for them. It's by design. But the other thing is, no, hold on 1 second. Hold on. The other thing you mentioned is it's really hard to get out of Facebook after you register. It's really 2 clicks: account security, and deactivate account. It's only 3 clicks.
And then wait 2 weeks. I think your turn to say.
You know, way back when, I always quote this guy, but Alvin Toffler, who was a sociologist who was very popular in the 70s, said, "We will tell when the future gets here because it won't work." And I think that Facebook and social networks prove that to us by being just like real life. Parts of them work great, parts of them don't work at all, and that's what we're dealing with. as a security risk, as an interface, and I'm going to shut up now because I'm out of time.
Thank you very much. And I think if we've learned anything during this panel session, we've learned that you can't trust anything on the internet or in the social networks. Another thing we've learned is that social networks are awfully distracting. But I think it's also I'm going to find out. As I said, social networks are awfully distracting, but I do think that they are probably here to stay. And as we've learned over the years, Mulder Rollers, smartest writers, they will go where the people are, where the masses are. And the masses are online, so we better get prepared to fight the fight on these social networks. Let's give a big hand to the panel. Thank you very much. Please stay put for the ending ceremonies. Panel.